All right, beautiful. Welcome to our training on how to turn your mission into a movement. First, I want to start by doing a little recap of day one, which was the 5 levels of leadership. Because, right, remember, this is the process through which we gain influence, right? We grow our influence, meaning we grow our ability to affect change in others, right? In larger and larger volumes of people, which is really what the process of creating a movement is all about. So, level one was position. This is when people follow you because they have to. Then we go to permission, which is when people follow you because they want to. Production, which is when people follow you because of your results. People development, which is when people follow you because of what you've done for them. And then finally, the pinnacle, which is when people follow you because of who you are and what you represent. So when we're talking about this process of going from mission to movement, what are we really doing here? Let's define our A point and our B point, which is in any sort of transformation that you're going to walk someone through, you have to have that really clearly defined. Bob Proctor used to always say the only thing you need in order to create what you want in your life is to clearly know where you are. You have to be very aware of where you are today, and then to be very deeply aware and clear about where you want to go. That's it. And if you're willing and you're capable, then you can do it. And you're always capable. So it's really just a matter of whether you're willing. So where are we now? Most of you are going to say that you have a mission. And what a mission is, it's a strongly felt aim, ambition, or calling, right? There's some vision that you have for yourself and for the world that you are emotionally involved in. It's something that is there's a deep passion in your heart about it. Now, a movement, how we define a movement, it's a group of people who share that same aim, ambition, or calling. So a group of people who are sharing the same vision. And when there's a group of us who all share the same vision, we would probably call that a community, right? Community are people who have that same set of values and ideals and feel connected to each other and connected to this vision that they have, right? This community of people changing their position or going from one place to another, like literally moving from A to B. So your mission is the calling you have in your heart, your vision for the world. A movement is when you create this group of people, you build a community around that vision, and then create some sort of way, there's some sort of path that you're all walking together going towards this ideal vision or destination. So the challenge really is, how do I first and foremost gather the people, connect the people to each other, so we're all going to be whatever we do, we're doing it together. And then how do we move this group of people in a designated direction towards the ideal vision? This is an engineering problem that we are going to solve today. So oftentimes when people talk about creating a movement, they relate it to the spark that turns into the wildfire, right? How many times have you heard that analogy before? I don't know why I'm raising my hand, but I'm like, yes, we've heard it a lot of times. Yes. So this analogy really fits perfectly with the 5 levels of leadership when you break it down step by step. First, we have the spark. And this really what a spark is, it's an ignited or fiery particle. It's a particle that has a higher level of energy. It's usually carrying some sort of heat. And this happens through different means. There's like lightning strikes is one way. Most fires are actually started by humans, like leaving, sparks unattended or throwing a cigarette on the ground or something like that. But there's some sort of element of heat here. Just one tiny little invisible particle that carries a higher level of energy than the others. And what this is in real life, in practical application, this is the person who has that unhinged level of passion. And it takes bravery to be that person, because again, you're going to stand out from the other particles. You're going to have some sort of vision in your mind that nobody else can see, and that most likely the people around you are not going to understand. Usually these are the crazy ones. Like the ability to actually get excited about something that feels very intangible and that feels very far away, it's a vulnerable state to be in. It's the reason why, after we fall in love the first time, we're so scared to open our hearts again, or after we fail in business, we're so scared to really get out there and get in the arena again, or, we've had a bad investment experience and then we're scared to go invest again. We tend to close down when we get really emotionally invested in something and then it doesn't go how we expected. So the real challenge of the leader is to keep their spark alive, to stoke that fire of your desire, to have strong desires in the first place. And I think this is why a lot of people really have their like midlife crisis, because they never allowed themselves to really want something. Because to really want something, it kind of hurts. Like when that fire is so strong, it kind of hurts a little bit when you don't have it or you don't know how to have it. And again, it's like a very vulnerable place to be in, to allow yourself to look at the world around you and say, I don't like this. To look at maybe the life you've had or the path that was laid out to you, or the what your lineage has looked like over the past generations, and say, this is not what I want. And to actually allow yourself to get so dissatisfied about that it turns into a very strong desire. And Bob Proctor, he always used to say, people are always talking about, I need to get energy. I'm so like tired. I need more energy. And he used to say, you don't get energy, you release it. Energy is not something you get, it's something you release. And you release it when you're in a heightened state of being. So when you have a strong desire, desire is the mechanism to release energy. So when you're really stoked, this is why when you're literally stoked, I mean, all these words we're using for a reason, language is so powerful. Stoked by a mission, stoked by a vision. When you're connected to your why, you are going to have an endless supply of energy to put out into the world. And I think this is a big part of like why I, have the energy to show up on a Sunday after I've, showed up all week and just had a crazy travel day. It's like, because I'm really stoked about what I'm doing. I'm really passionate about the mission. I'm really passionate about the vision. And for me, it's all about what can I put out? Like, it's about how much energy I put out, not necessarily how much energy I'm putting in, because in putting the energy out, in walking this path towards my mission, I just get more and more excited. And it's like this reaffirming loop, you know? And so this is what level one positional leadership is all about. It's having the right conditions for the fire to spark, having the spark, right? This is like setting your mind in the right place, getting your environment right. And if you don't have the most supportive environment, how can you manufacture it? How can you engineer it? How can you get yourself in rooms like this? Get yourself around people who are going where you want to go, or, who are already there. Making sure that you have a place where you do feel supported, even if it's not in every moment in your life you're feeling that. Maybe your living conditions aren't the place that you want to be. How can you intentionally create an environment where you feel supported, right? Where you know that there's going to be people who are constantly checking you and helping you keep your fire alive. The ability to excite yourself is something that a leader has to be able to develop for themselves. And part of that is literally just getting yourself in rooms where you're going to be excited. And that's why I love that you guys are here on a Sunday, because it just shows your dedication to what you're doing. And that, for you, it's worth spending, this hour or so with me today, because it's going to bring you deeper into your mission. And you're going to leave feeling energized and excited to go out, and light some people's flames. So you can't start a fire in the Arctic, right? And nobody builds anything worthwhile alone. Then we have level two. This is permission, right? And that's all about building relationships, like we talked about on day one. So in this analogy with the fire, this is really about gathering the resources, right? A spark is just a spark unless it has dry leaves around it, right? We need flammable material in order to grow the spark into a small fire. Not just any material is going to do, not just any material is flammable. We can't have wet leaves around us. That's not going to work. The spark will never catch. So what is the dry material? These are the people who have the same aim, ambition, or calling inside them. It's already there. I once heard something that really stuck with me, and it was that something is only meaningful if it comes from inside of someone. So, for example, like I can tell you, hey, just be more confident. But unless you come to that conclusion within, or I can, like, I'm a coach, I can point out people's blind spots for them, in a matter of seconds. You guys probably have that ability too if you're in this space of personal development. People are coming to you already because you help them with something. But it's one thing for me to be able to just point at someone and say, hey, this is what you're doing wrong, this is how you fix it. It's a very different thing for me to ask somebody the right questions until they come to the conclusion themselves. That's what facilitating breakthroughs in people is really about. It's helping them come to the conclusion themselves, because when it comes from inside of them, it's going to stick. Watch the best coaches in the world. And today, with the friends that I'm staying with, we were chatting about Tony Robbins, because I mean, he really is the ideal of like the number one coach in the world. And you watch him facilitate breakthroughs with people, you see how he doesn't tell them what's happening inside of them. He doesn't tell them what's wrong. Instead, he walks them through a process that allows them to discover it within themselves. And that's why it sticks. And that's why people actually do something about it and actually transform. So there's no point in trying to convince those who don't have the same passion and the same vision that you do, right? We get to speak to the vision, create trust. That's what the last 5 days has been about, is really how to create trust with people, how to call in those people, cultivate that feeling of community, so that right, we're gathering the dry leaves. That's what authentic branding is. It's gathering the people who are just like you, who have the same aim, the same ambition, the same calling, and bringing them close enough, right, through really revealing yourself, through transparency and vulnerability, that they start to catch your spark as well. And now, once there's this small fire that's burning, we have proof of concept. And this validates the person who started it, which is level 3, production, right? This is the person that started the thing, the leader, is demonstrating results for themselves. So all you really need to do is capture those first set of adopters in order to create enough results that it really validates you as the leader. Then, in order to grow, the people who were lit up, right, the dry leaves in business, this is the first adopters, they have to call in more leaves and they have to transfer the flame to them. And this is a really important part, because fires can start and then get extinguished. The process of these dry leaves transferring the flame to other leaves has to be stronger than the forces that work against it, than the forces that are trying to put the fire out. That's the only way it's going to become a wildfire. That's the only way the mission is going to turn into the movement. There's going to be resistance. There's going to be push and pull. So what's necessary at this point? A system. And really, it's a duplicatable system. So what a duplicatable system is, it means it's a system that doesn't just work for one person, it works for everyone. Anyone could go through this system and go from A to B. So anyone could go through this system. Once you define what the A and B point is, once you define, this is where we are now, this is where I am now, this is the vision for where we want to go. Ultimately, that's the B point. It's the vision. It's whatever all of you are creating together. So what's a step-by-step process that we could go through? Anyone could start it. Anyone could take these designated steps, and anyone will get here inevitably if they're if they're going through this system. So for the fire, the system is combustion, right? This is a naturally occurring chemical reaction that happens between oxygen and heat, and it's going to happen every single time oxygen and heat are in each other's presence. So when other people start producing the same results that you have through this system that you've created, now you've reached level 4, which is production, which is when you're known for the results you get people. And there's a tipping point, a moment in which the fire's ability to grow is stronger than the forces that are working to stop it. And my dad, he always used to call this tipping point critical mass. So you have to have this critical mass point. That's what we're all really working toward. That's when people have the overnight success, It literally seems like they went from like 0 to 100, even though they've been working at it for maybe years and years and years, and no one's recognizing anything. And then there's just like this pop. What happened is they reach critical mass. So it looks like an overnight success. Of course, we know it's never an overnight success. Always, success is earned. Always. You have to go through the trial and error. But once you hit that critical mass, this is when there's enough reactions happening at a time, that the fire becomes unstoppable. It grows independent of the spark that started it. So in business, this is when you have a community that's sharing your work for you. You know, people are finding you independent of your efforts. And that's when you start to escalate to level 5, which is the pinnacle. So in business, it might look like people referring clients to you. It might look like people sharing your content for you. It might look like people just like telling their friends about you and inviting people, you know, into your world that way, saying, have you heard about this person? Have you heard about this person? It's like, how do you think Tony Robbins got as big as he did? It wasn't all through social media marketing. It was through people talking about, hey, have you heard about this guy, Tony Robbins? And that's a really exciting place to be in, because it means you've really deeply affected enough people's lives and really created, because this is the thing, when you're at level 4 and when you're really creating change in people's lives, when you're really getting people results through your work, through your system, it's going to spread. Those people are going to talk about you. The people in their life are going to notice the changes. And then eventually, again, the fire starts to grow independent of you, and we hit the critical mass. And that's when you really have level 5, the pinnacle, which is when you're known for who you are and what you represent. Is this making sense, this whole process that we've outlined? Yeah. Okay. So I'm going to speak from my personal experience, because that's all I can really do and share with you here. And I hope that me kind of explaining this process, how I've applied it for myself and where I'm at, where I still want to go, it can kind of help you. You can start to look at, how do I apply this within the context of my own business? So right now, I am somewhere between level 3 and level 4. This is what I've pinpointed for myself. And I suggest that you look at your own business and ask yourself, where am I on the levels of leadership? Right? You have to know where you are to be able to get to where you want to go. You can't move from where you're not. And this is why I really stress this a lot. I see a lot of people jumping into business, having maybe mentors or guides or people they look up to who are way, 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 way ahead on the levels of leadership, and then trying to copy them and do exactly what they're doing. And inevitably it falls flat. Inevitably it doesn't work. Even like, you know, I've seen coaches who start coaching and then try and like, I mean, I did this, guys. This is so funny. Like, I was looking back in my notebook and I was looking at like my first offers and everything. I was charging more for one-on-one work when I first started than I am now. I obviously didn't have anyone work with me at that time and work with me at that price point. I was charging based on what I was seeing around me in the industry and the people that I was looking up to, not from where I actually was. Not being 100% real about where I was in the process and knowing I am a beginner. I need to get my street cred. That's what I say. I need to get my street cred. I need to put in the reps, right? Like, you might know you're amazing at what you do. You might know you have literal solid gold in your hands. The facts are nobody else knows that. You know, and you shouldn't expect them to know it. How could they know it until they've experienced it? So don't be afraid to be exactly where you are and own exactly where you are, because it's when you try and be somewhere else and position yourself as if you are somebody else, that's when you don't really move. Things don't really work. That's why I'm loving seeing all of your shares, like authentically revealing where you are at in your business. And I bet you, like, Taylor, you're like the perfect example of this, because you put out the most incredible post the other day. I'm curious to know, and I'd love for you to come off like your mic and share, like, how are you feeling after that in terms of your motivation and momentum?
Yeah. Honestly, like, I mean, like I shared at the beginning when you're asking how we're feeling, like excited and anxious is kind of like the how I'm feeling just in general. But
Yeah.
um, I really think that, or I know that sharing that piece and like really sharing the like from where I am, or like where I was, like getting to the point of where I am, because it's a couple part series. There's a lot to unpack, but it really just like feels like a weight off my shoulders, because
Mm,
I really do believe, and I have recognized in the past, I just never really knew how to like, I guess not like work around it, but like face it. Like I never knew how to face the fact that like
yeah.
I felt like I needed to be someone who I wasn't so that people would believe in the vision that I had. I think that's
Yes.
like the
Mm.
baseline of it. Like I literally, like I felt like I needed to be someone that like I wasn't yet. So, and obviously like that didn't work. It never does. I know you probably experienced that too, like you were mentioning with like your
Yes.
operates. So just being
Yes.
like in the position that I am and the person that I am, it's actually interesting because I saw a comment this morning. I haven't replied to it yet because I like am also trying to have boundaries with like business and
Mm.
my morning routine. But someone had mentioned, someone who I like haven't spoken to in years was like, wow, it's so brave and courageous of you to say this, like especially with so many people on the internet who are just faking it. And like I read that and I was
Mm.
like, wow, like this is actually what the space needs. Like the space actually needs that truth, not this like fake it till you make it, which a lot of people do preach, and maybe it works for some people, but like I feel like for those of us who really are connected to like integrity and honesty, and like me, like I'm a blue aura, like communication, honesty, like that's very my thing. Speaking from that space like literally had me choked like all the time, but I didn't know what else to do.
Mm. Mhm.
So now I'm like, I can say anything. It doesn't matter. And I just like feel so
Yeah.
free. So yeah.
Yeah. Honestly, you said that so well. I'm like, I don't even know if I have anything to add to that. Like, perfect. But I like how you brought up like that feeling of being choked. Because when I do think of starting a movement, we need fluidity. And anything you want to create outside of you has to start within you. So there has to be fluidity and movement in your expression, in your creativity within first before there can be any of that without. This like constant stream of, there has to be that sense of inner freedom where I can go on this process and I can go on this journey and I could share it all. And that's inevitably, if I'm moving towards this, then other people they're going to see the path outlined in front of them of how they can move towards it too. And you won't move if you're not owning exactly where you are. So thank you. I love that you shared that. That was like perfectly mwah. So, where I am right now, being 100% honest, is somewhere between level 3 and level 4, where, like, I know I've created results for myself, and I'm also starting to see others that I'm working with creating and experiencing the same results for themselves through the system. I wouldn't say I'm, like, fully at level 4 that yet because I think a lot more people would have to create bigger results for me to fully own that, but I would say that I'm on my way there, and I'm demonstrating that what I'm doing is working. The system that I have developed is working. So I'm going to share with you guys what that system is, how I kind of came across it, and also what I plan to do in order to escalate, officially be at level 4, and then eventually move to level 5. So for me, I call this the monetize your mission system. Or, I mean, I kind of wanted to get your thoughts on this, guys. What do you think of either name, monetize your mission system or monetize your mission method? Ashley likes method. Okay, you guys are liking method. Okay, all right. Overwhelming votes for method. Thank you. To monetize your mission method then. And how I really came across this is again applying this to my own business, and I want to invite you to look at this through the lens of how can I apply this in my business. How I came across this was first of all by doing it myself. Inevitably you have to first prove that it works through your own example. Then you have to prove that it can work for one other person. And then you have to prove that it can work for a group of people. So that's kind of like the process we have to go through. So I first had to discover this within myself. And it started really when I had moved to Guatemala, and, I was in that very low place, and my business had kind of at that point, it felt like it was dead, and I had to revive it from the dead. But here's what I did have at that moment. I had been in the game long enough that I had some things that I had learned, and I had some things that I had accomplished, right? And that really happened through me just being willing to go all in. Like, I had invested at that point up to $40,000 in myself. I had really gone and explored different realms of the coaching industry, the industry that I wanted to excel at. I had seen what other coaches are doing, kind of gotten a vibe for different coaching styles, understood what people find value in, what I could potentially, charge money for. I had run a few containers. I had worked with some clients. I had seen clients get results, not quite tangible results, but they had gone through a transformation with me. So the first thing I had to do was connect deeply with my mission, right? This is monetize your mission system. So the first thing I did was really connect deeply back to my mission. When I was at this moment where my spark was kind of dead, right? I had to reignite myself. I did that again, like I talked about a little bit in the intro. I did that through really connecting back to God, understanding that I have this creative power inside of me, that I am connected to the source of all creation, and remembering that there can be like that failure really is part of the process, and that this was not going to be the end for me. Reconnecting to that vision, reconnecting to my why, understanding that I truly am here for a mission. Like, there was a reason I was planted here, and I want to see a world where, we aren't subject to one way of making money, or making money in a way that feels completely out of alignment with our true selves, in a way that isn't utilizing all of our greatest gifts and passions. And it was through reconnecting with that I at least had enough energy, right? We talk about desire as the mechanism to release energy. I was reconnected to the desire enough that I started having the energy to try new things again. And as an entrepreneur, you have to be willing to experiment. You have to see yourself like this mad scientist. Okay, we're just out here like mixing all these different potions and trying all these different things and doing all the trial and error and kind of seeing, that worked. That didn't. Okay, readjust. And that's it. That's what entrepreneurship is. It's just solving problems. It's just being a wild, mad scientist, experimenter. And so I really took on that approach within my own mission. And I look back at everything that I had learned, and I realized, okay, there's a few things that I have figured out here. I have figured out, and I wrote down, I literally made a list, and I want you to like do this for yourself. Start writing down everything that you've accomplished in like the last maybe 3 years that you're very proud of. I think I might have even done it to like a year, so it's a little bit more relevant, but you could extend it as far as you want. And I was like, okay, one thing I've done, I know how to show up consistently online. That's something that a lot of people want to learn how to do. Okay, I know how to do that. I know how to create an engaged community. I know how to build relationships online. I've done that very well. I've created 5-figure months. I think that's pretty cool. Like, this is something that I have done. And I literally have the list of, and I'm just writing it down and remembering, like, okay, there's some things I've been through. There's some things I've accomplished that people would find valuable. And this can extend like in any area of life. Like, really take off any limitations you have on yourself of like what zone it has to be in, and just look at, what have I accomplished that somebody would find value in. So for me, I realized a big strength of mine was branding, really helping somebody to create authentic, influential content online. And when I had hosted like a program on that in the past, it got a lot of really good feedback. And I still had people like months and months later telling me that that was their favorite experience with me, and that it had transformed the way they show up online, and then transformed the way that people responded to them. So I was like, okay, there's one thing I know how to do to help somebody take their mission and turn it into a brand. But the thing is, I hadn't really designated a very clear process for it yet. So I kind of started to look at, all right, what are really the strong components of a brand? And I created this step by step kind of system that anyone could go through where I was like, all right, well, first you need to know what your edge is, your X factor, the thing that you do in a way that no one else does, your unique vibe and essence. You have to know yourself very well. Why are people going to want to follow you as a person, independent of what you do for them? Then you have to have a story, right? Because facts tell, stories sell. So I'm like, some sort of $1 million story. I realize one of the things I do most online is tell my story over and over and over again. So I'm like, okay, that's another part of the brand, right? There's what you do, there's how you do it, there's why you do it. And that was kind of how it started. And then I started like making these very clear steps, right? The $1 million story. There's your personal mission and your business mission. That's very important to outline. And then eventually, what this can turn into when you have all three of those outlined and you know how to communicate them through the screen and you have really clear words for them is an offer. And this is so interesting because I kind of did this first with myself. I had to sit down and understand what was my X factor, why were people coming to me? I'm a clarifier. I help people gain clarity. Okay, then I had to understand what's my story? Like what is the actual story that I've lived, over the past 5 years, but then over the past year of my life? And how can I help somebody else walk through whatever transformation is outlined through this story? Because that's what a story is. It's an emotional journey from point A to point B. Then, I mean, I know the one thing I've always really known, I was like, this is a feat in and of itself. The one thing I've always really known is what my mission is, especially my personal mission. I've always been very, very clear on that. So I can help other people get clear on that too, right? And so I kind of started to look within myself, understand what I had done, how I did it in a way that was unique, why it was so important to me that I was doing it, and create this offer around it. And that was the first offer that I put out after this kind of big failure moment that I had had. And that was my one-on-one Born for This brand intensive. And I started taking people through that offer. I mean, really, what I did at first was I started kind of teasing it and I had beta test clients. So I had people that had come and that I gave them 50% off. I was like, I just first I need to make sure that this works, right? I know that it's probably going to work, but first I really want to make sure and validate and prove that this works. Right? Again, taking on that kind of experimenter approach. So I invited people into it at a 50% discount. And I had read a book very recently, and I recommend you read this book because it's amazing. It's called $100 Million Offers by Alex Hormozi. Okay. And in this book, he essentially walks you through the process of how to create a really valuable offer. And for those of you who already have an offer, the next thing he does is show you how to package it. So how to actually communicate it and put it out there in the world in a way where it feels like a no-brainer. And so what I had done, how I had really, invited people into this offer at first in a beta test kind of way, is I understood very well what the results of it was going to be on the other side. And when I spoke to that, people responded. Then I sent them a proposal. This was the first time I'd ever really done that. I sent a proposal, and the reason why I did that is I wanted somebody to be able to go through this, really deeply understand the process they were going to be walking, and for it to be broken down in a way, for me to be able to really break down the price of it in a way where it felt like the value they were getting were far exceeding what they were paying. And this was the first time I'd ever really sat down and strategically packaged my offer this way, created really clear sales copy around the offer. I think that sales is about safety. And so when somebody could go through this proposal and kind of read it all the way through, understand, first know they were the right person for it, I was the right person for it, understand every step of the process, why that step of the process was needed, what it was going to do for them, and then be able to look at the price breakdown and really see, well, I'm getting this, this, and this. The normal total value of this would be this, but for me right now, it's only this. Crazy. And then I started bringing things like urgency into my sales process, where I was like, this offer expires in 72 hours. So it would force somebody into a state of decision making, essentially. I would kind of start to use, yeah, urgency and scarcity. I only have this many spots. And again, this is all things I learned from the book, but I started experimenting with them and realizing, like, wow, this actually works. So that's how I got my early adopters, my first adopters. And once they went through the process, then I would collect their testimonials and I would also collect feedback. Collecting testimonials, again, validated and allowed me to then start to invite other people into it. And then through the feedback, I could refine the process and fine tune the process. And this is the thing, you're always going to do that. You're going to keep refining your system over and over and over again. So don't worry if it's not perfect the first time. It's never going to be. You just have to have something that's good enough to put out there as like a prototype, right? I really started to see the offer creation process and the sales process the same way that you would with a physical product, right? Because I know some of us are service providers, some of us are selling an opportunity, selling a vehicle, but see it all as like a physical prototype. You have to test it first. So that's why I was like, if I just put this prototype out in the world and then I start to collect testimonials, I start to collect feedback, I can improve it and then put another iteration out. And so this is what I started to do with my brand intensive, which was really the offer that revived my business back from the dead. It was. And once I felt like I had a really great offer there, I was like, okay, well, what's the process I went through to create this offer? And then I created an intensive around that, an offer intensive, where I was helping somebody build out their grand slam offer, right? Their $100 million offer. And then once I had done that, and I was like, wow, this process is really working. Like, I feel like I could help anyone sell anything. Then I started to look at how would I expand this? What would be the next step of the process? The next step would be a sales system, helping people understand how to build sales systems. So really, like, slowly but surely, this system built itself out. And it started from me being exactly where I was, me understanding exactly what I have done, what I have accomplished, and again, and pairing that with a very clear step-by-step system and a community of people who knew, liked, and trusted me. So essentially what I did, I went from mission to brand, right? That's step one. That's something I had already kind of built out over years and years of being on social media. Business to brand, and that was through my content. And that's really like, I'm going to get into it a little bit more about how to turn your mission into a brand, but we have talked about it a lot. That's pretty much what this offer has been about. And you're going to see that part of the sales system is really giving away like that first step of the process for free or for like as low ticket as you can. The only reason I charged money for this experience was because because it required a lot from the person who was joining, right? It required you to show up every day. It required you to create content every day. And when there is a bit of skin in the game, you're going to take it a little more seriously. That's literally the only reason I put a $30 price tag on this challenge, or else I would have done it for free. It was more for the person on the other side than it was for me. It wasn't because like I need to make money from this. You know what I mean? So we've talked a lot about turning your mission into a brand, creating really great content that translates the excitement, the passion in your heart to other people, that ignites those dry leaves, calls the dry leaves in and ignites the dry leaves. Then what you do in order to monetize this mission is you have to turn your brand into a business. And you do that through creating an offer. If you don't have an offer, you don't have a business, period. Right? It comes down to creating really amazing offers. And like packaging is 99%. No, I'm not going to say 99% of it. Maybe I'll say it's like 75%. Because I think that a lot of people are good at what they do. I do believe that, truly. I believe that if you have the heart and the passion for it and you're invested in yourself, most likely you're going to be able to walk someone through a transformation with you. But the ability to compel someone to join you, to present the offer in a way in which it makes it a no-brainer for somebody to jump in, that's the packaging. And most of us don't know how to package our offers in a way where people really want to know more. Right? So that's a big part of it. And then when it comes to scaling it and getting it to more and more and more people, that's all about your sales system. So taking your business, taking your offer, and turning it then into a movement, right? Because a movement, again, it's this transformation. It's taking a group of people. We create the group of people, the community through the brand. That's how we gather people, through brand. It allows a brand is just the way people learn to recognize and familiarize themselves. It's people getting emotionally invested with an entity, right? So we have that, and then we need a system or a process through which we can all transform together, and that's the offer. That's the system, is the offer. We have to get people emotionally compelled and excited about joining the offer. And then the more people you take through that offer, eventually it starts to turn into a movement, because everyone is then going on this transformational journey. This entire group of people have now gone on this transformational journey. And you're also walking yourself through it. You're probably going to build the offer out as you walk through it, right? And you're going to keep adding more and more and more pieces. But what's really important is to understand, first and foremost, the A and the B. Where are we going? I didn't have this for the longest time in my business. And that's okay. I was experimenting. I was throwing spaghetti at the wall. Everyone's like, don't worry, don't throw spaghetti at the wall. Like, I'll just teach you how to do it. I think that's bullshit. I think you have to throw spaghetti at the wall. I think you should hire a mentor, and they should help you throw spaghetti at the wall. And really, a good mentor, they're going to be able to just say, like, oh, look at that spaghetti. I'm noticing this, this, and this about it. Let's try and throw it differently the next time. They're just going to help you go through that experimentation and that trial and error process faster, but they're not meant to completely, make it so that you don't have to do that. And I really believe that the blueprint for your success lives within your heart, and everyone's path is going to look different. Your path is going to look different, and her path is going to look different than my path, even if you're in the same business. Your path of success, your blueprint for success is going to look different, and it really lives within your own heart. So this is why I bring mind heart coherence into my work, like the process of deeply connecting with your heart and creating coherence between the mind and the heart. And if you work with me in any sort of like close proximity container, you know that we bring this into it a lot, because I want to help you access your own inner guidance, right? And because inevitably that is your success is going to be the path of your highest evolution. That's really what we're doing here. Like, when we look at it from that bigger picture perspective, we're just evolving as souls. Like, we're finding out exactly who we are and whose we are, and the creative ability that lives within us. And some people came and they need to take the easy path, and some people came and their path is a little bit harder, but it's all inevitably for the evolution of your own soul. So why would your path look like anyone else's when it was uniquely designed for you, right? And so really deeply connecting with your heart is the first step of this, because your blueprint is going to unfold from that place. I kind of had to go through a period where, like, I tuned out everyone else's voice around me so I could really deeply go into myself and understand what my best strategy was in order to create, the business that I wanted. And from that place, I understood, okay, this is the effect I really want to have in the world. This is the transformation I want to be known for. I want to be known for taking people from this to this, for helping people monetize their mission. And that is what I honed in on. And I think you have to know what you want to be the go-to person for. Get super, super clear on that. What do you want to be known for in the world? When somebody thinks of you, this is a good way to phrase it. If you were talking to a friend, or someone's talking to a friend, and their friend is describing a problem that they have or a desire that they have, who do you need to be? Or what does that problem need to be? What does that desire need to be for the friend to be like, you know who you need to talk to? You need to go talk to Ashley. You need to go talk to Carly. You need to go talk to Taylor Ray. You need to talk to Kathleen. Like, what is the person that they're talking to describing? What exact problem are they describing? What exact desire are they describing? And then who do you need to be then for you to be the go-to person, for you to be the one everyone refers their friend to if they're in that position? So I really got clear on this. And then because I was like, this is actually the journey I'm walking myself on. And then I started at step one. Okay, well, I have kind of accomplished the first step, which is going from mission to brand. And how I did that, again, we create this sense of community around beliefs, principles, desires, values. So one way to do that is to create really strong catchphrases. You kind of have to create your own culture within your content, right? A social media culture. So what are the rules and guidelines? Like a rule I have is we don't make goals, we don't set goals, we make decisions. And this is something that I'm like, hey guys, this is gonna be for all of us. And once I said that, people just like started gravitating to it. People loved it. And I was like, okay, this is gonna be part of our community culture. So within your own community, and I really encourage you, if you haven't already done this, name your business something. Give your business a name independent of you. Okay? Like you might have a personal brand, which is fine, and it's like your name and it's you, but give your business a name. Like I have the Mind Palace, right? So I can always be like, here at the Mind Palace, and it feels like it's this physical place, right? And from there we can establish a culture around the Mind Palace. Like we're all part of that. And that's one way that I also take myself off the pedestal because it's not really about me, even though like I'm the founder of the Mind Palace. Really all I've done is like create this imaginary, again, intangible place where we all get together. So name your business something. Like Kathleen now has Embrace the Woo, right? And within Embrace the Woo, she can create her own catchphrases, right? Like I always say, because you were born for this. Because when I really started asking myself, like, why am I doing this whole business thing? And really, where because you were born for this came from was I was sitting across the table with my mom right before I left for Guatemala, bawling my eyes out. She was terrified for me. I was terrified for me. And she was like, Sophia, what are you going to do? And I was like, I'm going to figure it out, I guess. Like, there's nothing else for me. I'm not going to get a job or something. Like, this is what I was born to do. I was born for this, mom. I was born to be a coach. What else am I going to do? And that's kind of where that came from, where I was like, I was just born for this. Like, that's really the bottom line is I was born for it. And when I had that, I started saying that to myself. I started baking it into my messaging. More and more people started to resonate with it, right? I remember when I first started the Mind Palace, I would just make like these 5-minute videos. And at the end of every video, I would say, enjoy every precious moment. Remember, enjoy every precious moment. The reason I got that was because that is my dad's voicemail message. That's how he ends it. So there might be little catchphrases and things that you're already saying to yourself very often. Start to bake it into your community culture. Decide what the rules are, right? Like something I'm starting to say now and bake more into my messaging now is miracles are the norm. Like we're making miracles the norm. That's something all of the people in my community are doing, right? And I always used to say, like, I want to be proof that miracles are real. So it all comes down to like me understanding myself, understanding how to put those really core beliefs that I have into these really catchy short little phrases that people remember, right? Like, oh, that's all branding is. Just do it. That's Nike's little catchphrase that people remember, and it comes with them in their life. So how can you start to bake those things? That's one way that you're really going to be able to establish again this sense of community and this really clear branding around your business. Now there's your personal mission and then there's your business mission. And I think both have a place, and I'm kind of going to designate between the two. The personal mission, this is the mission that you are on. This is what you want to be, what you want to represent for the world. So when you get to that level 5, that pinnacle, what do you want to be known for? Like for me, I always say, I want to be living proof that if you can see it in your mind, you can hold it in your hand. That's the bigger thing for me. It's not really about business. It's just about proving that manifestation is real and we are all the creators of our reality, right? That's what I want to be known for. I want people to think of me and be like, yeah, that's the message that her life demonstrates. That's why I'm actually doing this. Like, yeah, it's about I mean, monetizing my passion and like living this great life, but really it's about me proving to myself and then to the world that if you can see it in your mind, you can hold it in your hand. So that's my personal mission. And then my business mission is to help, of course, mission driven leaders build profitable online businesses. That's the service that my business provides, right? This is what my business does for others. So my personal mission is really about me. My business mission is about everyone else. And I really like to designate that between the two because, first of all, it's kind of an emotional strategy that way. And this is why we give our business an entity, like make it an entity outside of you. Because when your business is failing, it doesn't mean you're failing. And when you're failing, when you're feeling like shit and not like a leader, it doesn't mean your business has to fail, right? They're two separate things. So, but one thing I really started to do was realize that my personal mission was the bigger umbrella that was going to call a wider volume of people in. And then the right people would be the ones who buy from me and then of course help me fulfill the business mission, help me provide like the service that I'm providing in the world. So the people who are never going to buy from you, okay, do they have a place inside of your community? What's the bigger mission? Like, what's your personal mission that you really want to be known for and stand for? And I think you kind of have to play between both. So something you'll see me do is like, I create a lot of content really about this vibe of like dreams to reality and like your Pinterest board becoming your real life and things being better than you could ever imagine and just being like overwhelmed with gratitude about how life gets to be. Because that's the bigger mission and it inspires so many people, like people who have 9 to 5 jobs are going to be inspired by that. But guess what? Those people get a space in my community because they might become part of my referral network at some point. They might, or one day, they might decide they want to be an entrepreneur and they've been watching me for years and years and years. So I have a space for everyone to come, even the people who are never ever going to purchase from me and are probably are not my ideal client. But I think that's what allows it to grow into a movement is there is something bigger than just, hey, I'm a business coach and I'm going to help you build your business. You know, it's way, way, way bigger than that. And that's really what mission driven business is all about. It's having the bigger, the wider umbrella, right? So again, it's all part of this culture that you're creating and this community that you're building. And something that I started to really ask myself when I was starting out is like, how can I just become the best at what I want to do? Like how do I really just hone this skill of being the best coach ever? And so I started coaching a lot for free. I decided that I was going to coach at least one person every single day, even if it was like my sister sitting in my living room. I just wanted to become the best at it. And so I put in those hours and I put in that time and even showing up like online, I was like, I just want to be able to give someone something for free that's going to help them along the way right now. And that's how you cultivate a feeling of expertise is you do the thing enough times and you're willing to be a beginner and you're willing to just practice at it. Experiment, experiment, live it and then teach it. Because when you're willing to experiment, eventually you're going to find what works and eventually you're also going to see what doesn't work and then you can teach that, right? But you have to be in the living process. You have to be in the arena, really trying things out and getting your hands dirty and getting your feet wet and being all on the battlefield, like disgusting. And then you're like, all right, guys, this is the path forward. This is where we're going to go next. So this is what you really have to start asking yourself. And so once you hone in on what have I done, what can I teach someone? And this might be something intangible. It might not be like, hey, this is how you make $10,000 in 90 days. It might be something like, this is how you learn how to create safety within yourself so that money is no longer a burden on you. It could be something like, this is how you have the courage to go and move to another country. Like it could be something like that. Anything that you've done that you feel is really valuable that people might want to learn from is something that you get to use. And you can really create your first offers around. And you may even be able to create like a bigger brand message around that specific transformation. Whatever it is, I want you to think about what were the top 3 steps in my process. Like if I had to break it down into 3 steps or 3 clear pillars of the journey, where it's like first, okay, if you're going from A to B, first you would need to get to this step. Then once you're there, the natural next step is here. And then once you're there, this is where you need to go next. And so you're kind of breaking down your system into very clear steps. And again, using exactly where you are. So you're the B point right now. You are the B point. Your person is the A point. Reverse engineer how, when you were there, how you got yourself to where you are now, and create some sort of offer around that. When it comes to packaging the offer, maybe this is something you're doing for free, and maybe this is something that you are putting a price tag on. Maybe this is going to be your core offer. And what I really help people do within my own business is help people create those core offers, the thing that's going to give them the reputation, right? They're going to become known for this specific thing because it's this offer that takes people from A to B, right? So my first one was the Born for This brand intensive, where I was really helping somebody take the mission on their heart, right? Create a really solid brand, create really great brand messaging around it, really clear brand messaging around it, and then start to get kind of the blueprint for what kind of offer would this be. That's kind of the last step of the brand intensive. We just go a little bit beyond brand and we start going into business and offer, but it's not a full, because then I was like, oh, well, once somebody's here, this is the thing. Once I could get someone here, well, what have I just done? Oh, I've sold an offer, a really good one. Oh, well, then maybe the next thing I could do would be help somebody do that. Right? So you're living it and then you're teaching it always. That's why you really have to own where you are, because that's the only way that you can live and teach. And we do this by, again, creating those really clear steps. And I think what that does in somebody's mind, again, this is like part of sales too, creates safety, right? If somebody can very clearly see this step, then this step, then this step, oh, that fits. Like in my logical brain, I can understand how that would work. That makes very clear sense to me. Then there's so much confidence in actually going on that journey with you. You take all the unknowns out of it. And it's even better if you have like your own tools. Like I started developing like worksheets that I brought into my intensive, where it's like, it just, somebody feels so supported going through that process because it is a very intentional and clear process, right? And I've really thought of all of the objections they might have, all the questions they might have along the way, and I filled in those gaps before they've even had a chance to ask them, right? And then when you're presenting the offer, what you always want to think about is, how do I frame this in a way where it really appears as if the value is far exceeding what they're paying for it, if there is a price tag on it, right? So you might see an actual, you ever see those kind of infomercials where people are like, if you buy now, you get this and this and this, and this is the value is 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 this, and the total value is this. But for you, for right now, for the next 48 hours only, it's just this, and we'll throw in a free this, like there's a reason they're doing that, guys. It's called value stacking. And it's a proven process, a proven strategy that leads to more sales. That's a reason why the infomercial people do it all the time, because it works. They wouldn't be doing it if it didn't work. So I started bringing that into my proposals, right? The proposal is really beautiful because it's one thing to have a conversation with somebody and explain to them what the value is and explain to them what the step-by-step process is. It's another thing to have a tool that they can then go through on their own time, in their own space, read through it, right? They're digesting the information in a new way, absorb it, process it, see the entire price breakdown, see the numbers in front of them, and be like, wow, like this is such a steal. Like that's how you want, and through your writing, through your copy, you create this emotional experience as well. My brother just got here. I'm glad you made it, bro. Okay. We're almost done our training here. All right. So that's how you take your brand to become a business. You create this really great offer and you create really great packaging around the offer. The last thing is now how do we mass market this? How do we start to get more and more people in it? Well, we prove it works through bringing maybe one person at a time. And I think that's really important. You go through the process first. You're the first, experimenter. You're the first case study. Then you have one by one. You're bringing people through it. You're making sure, okay, does it work for this type of person? Does it work for this type of person? Does it work for this type of person? Yes, yes, yes. Ooh, okay. Obviously, this is a process that is duplicatable. And that's what you need to prove. Is it duplicatable? Will it work not just for you, not just for her and her? Will it work for more and more people at a time? And every time you make an iteration, all you're doing is testing. You're testing, you're gathering feedback, and you're tweaking. Again, systems though. You want to start thinking in terms of systems. If I know this works for me, how can I then reverse engineer it so it will work for somebody else? And then once I've proven it works for enough people, how do I again then reverse engineer it so that I can bring more people into it? So that's again, this is what I've been doing. This is I'm just taking you all behind the scenes of like how I've been thinking about my own business as I've been literally rebuilding it from scratch, creating offers that I know work, testing them in a one-on-one way. And now I'm starting to think about how do I scale this? So scaling is all about bringing more people through a transformation at one time. So starting to think about how can I now repackage my offer, repackage the transformation, which is the monetize your mission method, right? Where we go from mission to brand, brand to business, and then business movement. How do I repackage this so that more people can experience it at a time and more people can experience it in different ways? So now that I'm really clear on the process because I've brought a bunch of one-on-one clients through it and I've seen the results on the other end, I'm like, okay, well, could I create a self-paced option? Could I create a group coaching option? Could I still have the one-on-one tier up here, but now there's just different options depending on where the person wants to go, depending on what they want to invest, right? But knowing it's all the same transformation, we're not shifting that, we're not changing that. So this is all what happens when you start to look at the buying journey. So I started realizing that this buying journey I was taking people through was working. Like it was actually working. This process of having amazing content that really is only there to start conversations. Usually, I would start conversations through giving something away for free. That's how you start a conversation. It's the lead magnet, like the puppy, right? We talked about the puppy and how when a guy has a puppy, you're probably going to talk to him whether you were planning to or not. And then from there, who knows what could happen. So lead magnets, we're creating free master classes. I give away a ton of free one-on-one sessions. There's a reason why I do that. I want to give people a taste of my work. I want to give them those mini breakthroughs, those transformations. That's what I'm talking about when I'm saying giving stuff away for free. It's not just like this wishy-washy stuff. It's like, how do I get someone a transformation? How do I take them through the first step of the journey? Like even this whole challenge was a lead magnet, and I was really taking you through the first step, which is turning your mission into a brand. I mean, giving as much away as I could in that sense. And once you're like, oh, wait, well, she can take me through the first step, she can probably take me through the second step and the third step too, right? So, how do you get somebody already moving towards the final destination without them investing a lot of time and a lot of energy and ideally no money? Because if you can prove that to them, then they're more likely to go through the other steps. You want to get somebody a win as quickly as possible in their journey. Any type of win. It could be an emotional win, it could be a financial win. Even just them having clarity around something they didn't have clarity around before is a win. And once that happens, then they're probably going to be more likely to explore what's next, to explore the next steps. So the buying journey, really all it is, it's this journey that somebody might go through where they're exploring the possibilities of working with you in a really safe way, where there is not any pressure, right? They really feel like I can say no at any point. And a really beautiful quote from Shoshana Raven, she's a business coach that I learned a lot from. She said, A woman will never feel safe to say yes until she feels safe to say no. And I think, especially when you are selling to women, that's something you have to keep in mind. She always has to feel safe to say no. So throughout this journey, it's always about permission. I'm always asking for permission before I take somebody to the next step. So if the first step is like, hey, I'd love to get on a free call with you. Like, is that okay? Should we do that? Through my community, right? I have my free community now, and through there, people have a free complimentary, like, one-on-one call with me. So really, they're the ones that are, booking that process and saying yes to that, right? It's through their own will. Once we get on that call, I'm going to deliver as much free value as possible. And then towards the end, I might invite them into a conversation about sales, about an offer that I have. If they say yes to exploring that, I'm going to explain a little bit, and then I'm going to ask again, can I send you a proposal? If they say yes to that, then I will send them the proposal. And usually within the proposal, there is some sort of deadline for the decision where it has to be made within X amount of hours. Or there's some sort of, like for a retreat, for example, we have a fast action bonus where if you sign up within 72 hours of us sitting and having a discovery call, you're going to get some money off. So some little thing that initiates somebody into making a decision. And again, you want to work with decision makers. So this process also really filters for me, like, who is going to be the ideal client for my offer, because I can't build a business for you. Like, you have to be willing to put in the work. So from that point, they've gotten the proposal, they have all the information. They are going to be in a perfect place to then decide, yes, I want to do this, or no, I don't want to do this. And this process has been working for me. Like, I can't tell you how it's been working so well that I'm like, okay, let's keep going. And let's start to help other people do this as well. Like, I think that's what it is. You have to get into a point where you're so comfortable with the results you're getting for yourself that then you start to feel really confident in sharing with others and knowing that it's going to work for them. While also knowing that here's a really good thing too. The reason not everyone is for you is because again, not everyone is going to align with your process. So when you find that thing that clicks, that path that really works for you, and it's not going to be what everyone else's is. And this is why you can't just like copy someone else and be so, why didn't it work? Like, it's just not your path. Like, don't worry. There's going to be something else. Maybe there's one piece of that though that you do keep. Right? I didn't learn this process from anyone. I had to go through my own experimentation to find it, what really clicked and worked for me. And now I really do trust that the people who I do end up working with, the people who say yes, this is just like an intention, an energetic intention I set for myself, is that the people who say yes to working with me in that close proximity way are the ones who are going to align with this process, who this process is going to work with. And that's why transparency about my process is so important, because you have to know that this aligns with you as well. So trust that as well. You're not just doing this. You're not just going through this experimentation process for you. You're going through it for every single person who you're going to lead through it one day. But you got to go there first. But like, know in the back of your mind, this is why you're doing it. I'm doing it for all of us, not just me. And once I find the things that works, guys, you just wait. You just wait. We're all blowing up. Like, that's the approach you take on your socials. It's like, I'm out here. I'm going to find what works, and I'm going to do it for all of us. All my people who I know are really going to resonate with this way of being. And then they're probably going to take it, and they're probably going to iterate it, and they're probably going to make it so much better. And that's how we influence each other. And that's how a movement grows. We all stand on each other's shoulders. And I think that's really beautiful, that the person who does it next is probably going to do it even better, right? So the more volume, something really important to know about the sales process is inevitably, like, there are going to be people dropping out at every single step of this journey, of this client buying journey, right? Some people are going to say no at at each moment. Not everyone is going to go all the way through. Some people are going to ghost you at some point in the journey. Like, it's just part of the process. I get ghosted too. Okay. So the more volume we can get on the front end, inevitably, the more volume we can get on the back end. So once you've really refined your process and you're like, okay, I know that if somebody goes through this, and they're the right person, they're going to say yes. Now you're like, okay, well, just how do I then just bring more people through this funnel? And something I learned, oh my God, who was it that I learned it from? Matt Gray, I think his name um, is that you really want to, your funnel, like an overarching view of it, is taking somebody from own space, or sorry, rented space, like social media, a place you don't have ownership over, into own space. Like email marketing, or maybe you're doing a one-on-one call with them. Or now for me, I have my free school community. That's my own space. Even this, like this kind of container, this is own space. This is me and you over a long period of time. Longer exposure to me builds more trust with me. Again, I get to deliver more value to you. You're not gonna, you can't, there's nowhere to scroll, there's nowhere to go. I own this space with you into then a monetized space. That's kind of the journey on a bigger scale. So volume on the front end is all about content through your social media. I think it also is about connecting with the right people and getting involved with the right networks. Like, don't underestimate the importance of in-person networking. A bunch of you right now are on this call because I connected with Charlotte and then was able to tap into her network. That's one person that led me to so many people. You know, another thing is, through my community, through giving away a lot of people have just shared about the community. And it's been so, like, I've connected with so many new people in the last 2 months because people find a lot of value in what I'm doing and want to share it. Right. So again, when you're willing to give away a lot for free and it's like really good, valuable stuff, right? People will share it. And so now that's my kind of goal, is like bringing more people through this funnel and then allowing there to be more places for somebody to go on the back end. So it's not just these one-on-one intensives that I'm doing, which is why I've retired them, because I realized that in order for me to grow my business, I do have to shift my product suite. This is why I'm opening up the Six Figure Club, which is the mastermind space, where it's a group coaching space again, but it takes somebody through this exact same process. It's just in a group setting kind of way. Something else I'm going to be doing is opening up a paid membership. So this is going to be the self-paced tier, where you're going to get access to this pre-recorded monetize your mission method. You'll have the whole system, and it's going to be laid out in a way where somebody can actually walk themselves through it. Everyone in the Six Figure Club is going to get that as well, but they're just also going to get live coaching with me. Whereas, you know, if you have this, you're on this tier where it's self-paced, you might have questions, you might run into some blocks, but you know, it's a lower level of accessibility, which means it's lower level of proximity to me. Same transformation, again, same thing, just packaged in a different way. Again, it's going to be it's going to be more accessible. It's going to be like $99 a month, you know, but you're going to get less proximity. Group coaching, and then there will be a one-on-one tier as well. So all of these, again, all I'm doing is now expanding the back end to be able to fit more people. And I'm also doing a lot more on the front end with my community, free community, to bring in more people. I am posting a lot more higher quality content, which is bringing in more people. I'm collaborating with more people, bringing in more people. So again, that's what it's all about. You have your system, which is the bridge. If you know I can get anyone, the duplicatable system, anyone who is of this nature, who's in this point, goes through this and ends up here, it spits them out here. If they follow this system perfectly. I mean, in an ideal world, everyone does. Obviously, that's not the case because we don't live in an ideal world, but regardless, that's not a you thing. That's a them thing. We have our beautifully made system, and now how do we expand the front end so we're calling more people into it? And then how do we expand the back end so we can fit more people in it? Does that kind of make sense? And again, always starting from where you are. Always, always, always starting from where you are. Build the first step. Once you build the first step and you can prove that you can take someone through the first step, you're going to be able to demonstrate then that you can get to the second step. And then you take someone to the second step. And then once you've done that, you've probably gone to the third step. The same way that we go through the 5 levels of leadership and we really go through the process of gaining influence, step by step by step, you can think about building your business exactly like that. Do you guys have any questions? I think that's perfect timing. My whole family is like arriving now. Okay. All right. No questions from me. Taylor Ray said, just saying monetize your mission method sounds so good. Ah, yay, I'm so excited. I have so many ideas right now. Yes. Amazing. Okay, beautiful. Well, before we hop off, I just wanted to give one last reminder about ways we can continue working together because, oh my gosh, what a group. This has been so, so much fun. I mean, I kind of explained what's coming next within the Mind Palace and how I'm really taking this monetize your mission method and starting to scale it. Um, the Six Figure Club is the next place that I'm focusing my attention on really building an awesome first adopters. So now you know why I am discounting it for the first. I mean, I have a bunch of people in there for free right now. We have 6, about to be 7 people in there for free for the first 5 months. So these are people I'm working with one-on-one that I've just offered a free space to. This is part of what part of what actually helped me hit this 20 plus K month is selling a bunch of my brand intensives, right? There's the urgency around, hey guys, I'm retiring these. It's your last chance to work with me one-on-one for this price point. Before my product suite completely changes, the price to work with me one-on-one is going to go up a lot. And to sweeten the pot, to make it a no-brainer, I said, and you're going to get 5 months of a free mastermind space, just because, and I'm offering that again. It's for both of us. It goes both ways. Because for me, I want to be able to prove that I can coach in a mastermind setting and still get people the same results, right? So that's why I want to bring people into it for free. I want to test it at the mid-tier kind of level at the beta test rate, so people can come into it. People are still investing, right? People are investing to work with me one-on-one, which means they have skin in the game, which means they're going to show up for the mastermind space anyways. Now bringing more people just into the mastermind space. So testing people who don't have the one-on-one with me, but are in the mastermind space, are they going to still get the same results, right? With the pre-recorded modules and everything. And then eventually, once I have that proof of concept, I raise the price of the full price of the mastermind space. So that's kind of how I approach every new offer, because I really want to test, have this prototype and make sure it works. So, Stephanie, I saw you asked. I am not opening any more one-on-one spaces. I've completely filled up my one-on-one spaces. I'm really, really happy with everyone who's jumped into those. But I do have space inside of the Six Figure Club at the beta test rate of 50% off. So you guys are going to get some emails this week about it, about booking your free session, because I really want to hop on a strategy session with you first. I want to make sure we're the right fit for each other. And that this space is really going to be supportive for you. I want to, get in there with you in your business. I want to help you create a quick breakthrough as well, so that you can really get a feel and know that I'm the right mentor for you. And then we'll have a conversation about the Six Figure Club. I'll send you a proposal. We'll do the whole works, right? It's a process. It's the sales process that I know works, and I know it really allows me to call in the right people, and it allows my people to feel really safe going through that, because investing in yourself, it takes a lot. It's scary. It's really scary. So the more safety you can create around that process, the better. If you do want to work with me one-on-one, that's something that we'll be opening up probably within the next month or so. And just stay tuned. You'll know when that time is here. But for right now, I'm really focused on creating like the most epic most epic mastermind space with everyone, like all of these leaders who have this same goal and intention. And it's so clear, like we're all going to the six-figure mark in our business together this year, period. So yeah, so stay tuned for all that. I'm so excited to see how it's going to unfold. And yeah, it's been such a pleasure working with every single one of you. I hope you have a beautiful rest of your Sunday, and mwah, just all the love. Mwah, 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 mwah.